this out now because we know Game 5 is going to be, or excuse me, Game 6 is Tuesday. It's a very, very weird schedule that that games 1 and 2 were normal. Then you had the 2-day travel, play Game 3 in Florida, and then they had 2 more days off and played Game 4. Then they have 1 day off to travel to then they had, I believe it was 2 days or 1 day after that. I have to look. But let's just get realistic here. Florida can win the Stanley Cup on Tuesday night. So, and would not surprise me. I called Edmonton in 7, and it's a very high possibility that it could go that way. But in a sense, we've had a lot of parity, and people are now thinking about there's no parity because Florida's going to win back-to-back. I have a couple friends that actually don't want Connor McDavid to win a cup, but I think you're seeing one of the best players in the world, and they're just running into a bunch of bullies. I like to joke around and say that the Vegas Golden Knights are a bunch of mercenaries because they will, in fact, manipulate the cap, and they will grab every godforsaken, popular, high-volume free agent out there. That's why they made deals to get Jack Eichel and Alex Pietrangelo, and they went and got Mark Stone and a handful of others, and they won a cup, and they destroyed Florida in 5. Now, Florida, they changed their identity. For years, Florida was owned by Wayne Huizenga, and then they now finally get a new building. They get out of the old school Miami Arena, and they get this new building in Sunrise, and they needed people to, they wanted to get stars and open the checkbook finally, and it took them a handful of years. Then, in the last couple of years, when Paul Maurice got hired, this team changed into an absolute, not even a bully. They changed to a very much more diverse defensive core team with a bunch of playmakers. And it's worked. They even went out and finally got an all-star, an A-class goaltender in Bobrovsky. Matthew Tkachuk is an absolute beast. He should be the captain, but Barkov still is. Ekblad has been there since day one in Florida. And when you get other guys like Verhaeghe and Leinart and a handful of others that just absolutely, I have seen nothing but bully hockey. And I joked about this, and I say it. They've been playing bully hockey since practically game 4 of the Toronto series. When they were down 2-1 against Toronto in game 4, that's when the switch hit. Because they win that game, and then they go to Toronto and absolutely bully and absolutely steamroll them 6-1. And then an awkward thing is they go back home and they go try to finish it and they get shut out 2-0. They go back to Toronto, and we pick on Toronto because they had the opportunity of a lifetime to finish at a game to win, and they get just destroyed 6-1 again. And Carolina's no different because Carolina let them walk all over them the first 3 games. So, and then it was just way too much. This is just bully hockey. What do I call that? You're winning every stick battle, every puck battle, every board battle. The back check is absolutely insane. Matthew Tkachuk has owned Connor McDavid and Draisaitl probably a majority of this entire series. Their back check is ridiculous, and that's the defensive mind that Paul Maurice has. And it's a shame. Paul Maurice didn't really have this type of style in Winnipeg, and then he didn't employs this in Florida, and now Florida could very well be Tampa. Tampa had a dynasty. They went to the Cup 3 years in a row, won the first 2. And now Florida could very well be that measuring stick in the league. And I don't know if anybody's going to stop them. I don't know. You can, but and Edmonton had this opportunity. You win in overtime in game 1, and then if a couple things don't go to Florida's way, we're talking a completely different series. Like when I believe it was either Arvidsson or it was Evan Bouchard's stick was lost. He went to pick it up and Sam Bennett kicked it. That's technically an unsportsmanlike call. 10 seconds later, Florida scores. We're in a completely different game frame of mind. And if Marchand doesn't take a double overtime win, Brad Marchand has also been an absolute juggernaut in this series. And Sam Bennett leads the entire series in goal scoring. He actually leads the entire postseason in goal scoring. And if they win the cup, Sam Bennett probably will win the Conn Smythe. But if Marchand absolutely goes ham in Game 6 and wins it, I wouldn't be shocked if Marchand wins it. That is the best pickup of the entire 25-26 season. Out of every team's trade deadline stuff is Marchand. I don't know if he'll stay in Florida because he's still going to probably want a lot of money, and he's 37. I don't know exactly how to go by because I can't say Edmonton is technically out of this, but you're over 3 on the power play at home and you can't score. You hardly got shots. But the shot total was, in fact, a little bit even. And I don't want to make this 21 video again. But you have to take care of your business at home, and they never did. Let's just put it this way. Marchand's goal, his first goal, that he just busted through a face-off and took it to the length. I don't care who you are, what type of goaltender you are. You could be Waugh, Chris Osgood, Brodeur, anybody. You're not stopping that shot. And the second goal by Bennett was off of an initial first shot by Tkachuk, and Pecker had no idea where the puck was. He had no idea the shot was even taken, and Bennett hits it in an empty net. It was way too late for McDavid, who had a nice little Showtime goal to get him 3-1, and Florida was just like, and I don't give a you-know-what, and scored another one and made it 4-1. And then Edmonton pulls the goalie with 5 minutes left, which is dangerous to play against a bunch of bullies. And they're fortunate they got one goal that Corey Perry shot on the slap shot near the blue line. And we thought there was a chance. And then I believe it was, I can't remember who it was, but shot a 90-footer in an empty net, and the game was over. Now, if Florida wins Game 6, I'm not going to be shocked. They'll have the shot at home. It's home ice. I did predict Edmonton in 7, but I'm going to tell you right now, at Edmonton, they've got major things to do. Number one, I believe Stuart Skinner should be in goal. I mean, you went to try to get the hot hand, and Pickard got you through Game 4. You chose to go with him in Game 5, which was fine. It was just the wrong decision. But anyone would have stopped those shots in the very beginning of that game. So I would go back to Skinner, and honestly, Skinner plays very well after a day he's benched. So I would go to Skinner in Game 6. And another thing is, Florida's awkward as this is, Florida's 0-2 when trying to close a series at home. They couldn't do it against the Leafs. They couldn't do it against the Canes. And here's Edmonton, a closeout game. If Edmonton can survive, I don't care if it's 3-2, 2-1, or whatever. They need to show up, and they need to basically play a little bit of, not necessarily saying their version of bully hockey. Stay out of the box, move the puck, and if you have to play a little bit more of a defensive type of game and have to play their game, good luck. Because if it's bully hockey, from the moment they drop that puck, this season is going to be over faster than you imagine, and it will be a 4-1 game, 4-1, 3-1, 3-0, 5-1. Florida will have back-to-backs. But I will say, if Edmonton can survive, we're going to have a fun Friday night, because Game 7's on a Friday night in Edmonton, and anything's possible. So I made sure I get this video in less than 10 minutes. Your thoughts? Is this series over? Is Florida the next Tampa, the next bully team in the league? Are they the villains? I don't know, because they've got a nice pretty much of a strategy going. They're just winning every battle right now. It's not necessarily McDavid and Draisaitl. You want your stars to show up, but when you are manhandled and back-checked by a bunch of players that know how to play the game and know how to stop you, it's very difficult. So Edmonton has to have a good game plan. You got an extra day to travel down and just be ready for Game 6 and be ready to make sure that cup gets one extra trip back over the border. You have a thought? Is this series over? I'm going to be sad when hockey's over. And until then, I called Edmonton in 7, but Florida just looks like a bully you don't really want to mess with.